I wrote this book a couple of years ago because I thought that this was a very important message for young people to learn about. And so this is actually the second book. The first children's book was called Grandfather Gandhi, and this is the second one in the series. Hopefully, the third one will be coming out at the beginning of next year. But this book, Be the Change, is a very important thing that grandfather taught me, that we must become the change that we wish to see in the world by changing our attitudes. So the world knows him as the Mahatma, great soul. To me, he was just a grandfather. Life at Sevagram Ashram, grandfather's service village, revolved around the sun. Before daybreak, we left our beds. All 350 followers gathered for the morning prayer meeting. Peace descended on us like the rays of the sun. All religions were welcome. The purpose of ashram life was to live simply and non-violently. Each day was filled from sunrise to sunset with service. The ashram worked as one, washing clothes, planting vegetables, picking fruit, spinning yarn. Anything that needed doing was done for the good of all. Grandfather had dubbed our work experiments in truth. There were 11 vows of ashram living. The one I found the hardest was the vow not to waste. And it was an important one, a cornerstone of grandfather's teachings. I wasn't sure how not wasting food or other items made life non-violent, but I did my best to follow the path. But before me, Bapuji said, I would understand in time, but I had already lived at Sevagram for more than a year. Soon, grandfather asked that I accompany him to Pune. I was happy to get the break from ashram life, from waking early and working hard. But at the Nature Cure Clinic, our routine was much the same vows, the same self discipline. When violence is accepted as the law of life, it must pervade the whole being and not be applied to isolated acts, Bapuji said. How was I to understand that? It hurt my head to even think about. On my way home from lessons, I had enough. As I walked, I tossed my nubby pencil in the air, tired of my vow not to waste, tired of not understanding. It bounced into the grass. I left it there on purpose. This morning you had what appeared to be a perfectly good pencil, grandfather said. It was too small. I threw it away, I argued. I didn't share what I was really thinking. I was a Gandhi. Didn't I deserve a new pencil? It was not too small this morning, grandfather smiled his toothless grin. And what of your vow? The one not to waste? I stared at my sandaled feet. A vow is a promise to yourself before it is one to others. That night, I wrestled with my thoughts. How could throwing away a pencil hurt anyone? It made no sense. Why couldn't I understand? We returned to Sevagram. There, grandfather set out to teach me the deeper meaning of the rule not to waste, just as monsoon season had come. The skies erupted. For days on end, the rains beat the dry, cracked ground. The earth became messy and muddy as I struggled with how waste and violence were connected. Waste is a violent action. When resources are low, people hoard. Those who are forced to do without it may eventually strike out. Fighting occurs, he said. Did you want any of that when you threw away your pencil? I didn't. Is this why we spun? Why we made our own cloth? Grandfather suggested I make a tree of violence, with violence as the trunk, and physical violence and passive violence, the kind that looks like it hurts no one, as the branches. Before you act, think how it would affect others, he said. Who would it hurt? You? Someone else? The earth? Does hurting the earth hurt us? Together we created a tree and pasted it on the wall. Each day I added my thoughts and actions to it. Grandfather would come by my hut and he'd watch my tree grow. When I wasn't sure where to place something, he helped me decide if the thought or action was passive violence or physical violence. As the monsoon rains renewed the earth, my tree grew and grew. Both branches were heavy with leaves, but the passive side became enormous. I could see how throwing away my pencil could hurt others. More graphite would need to be mined for a new pencil. Trees would be cut down, land would be stripped bare, villages would be lost. Were we wants were my wants like the one for a new pencil more important than the needs of others? I saw how kicking and shoving led to rioting. I saw how violence led to more violence, how wars led to more wars. New growth finally sprouted in me. I was responsible for my every thought and action, yes, but I was also responsible for the thoughts and actions of the world. Grandfather took my hand. We walked amid the hustle of ashram life, new planting, chores, prayers, work. Grandfather had a saying. He had said it to many, and now he said it to me. Be the change you wish to see in the world, Arun. And with grandfather as an example of being the change for himself and others, I would. Now there is a pledge at the end of the book, a pledge that all of us need to take. And the pledge is I pledge to dig dig deep to understand passive violence, to find the roots of my thoughts and actions. I pledge to not overuse resources, to focus on my needs over my wants. I pledge to learn to work with others as one for the good of all. I pledge to be the change I wish to see in the world.